Hey guys, Sam here. Welcome back to the Film Fan Club. I finally finished The Crown Season 1. I'll put the link to that review in the description of this video, but I needed something else to watch on Netflix, a new show to check out. Luckily, a series of unfortunate events dropped on Friday, so I got to check out episodes 1 and 2. Let's talk about The Bad Beginning. The Bad Beginning, of course, being the title of the episodes. Every 2 episodes, I guess, covers one of the books. So here we got The Bad Beginning Part 1 and Part 2. It introduces, this is going to be a spoiler-free review for the most part. I won't get into, like, the climax and stuff. I'll try and stay away from that. It introduces us to the Baudelaires, who their parents perished in a fire which destroyed their home, but they did leave behind a fortune, and the Baudelaires they meet Mr. Poe, who's in charge of their family's finances, which for some reason means that he's also going to figure out who their guardian is, and he decides to put them with their closest living relative, and it is Count Olaf, played by Neil Patrick Harris. So there's a lot to live up to. My previous exposure to this mythology, to a series of unfortunate events, was in the 2004 film, which had Jim Carrey playing Count Olaf, and he had a really over-the-top performance, which I really liked, because I was 9 years old, so that might have had an influence, but I thought he did a really good job with it, and I really liked the creepy feel of this world that film was able to build, and that does carry over especially into this Netflix show. There are some parts of the world that do feel too bright. I would like it to be a little bit darker in areas, but then it does become dark, like is more recognizable. I watched this with my girlfriend Hannah. She had previously read the books when she was growing up, so she was able to kind of tell me about a little bit of it. I guess a lot of the stuff that they cover in the first film actually just happens in the first book, so I was a little bit confused in the first 2 episodes. Whenever we get to it, we cover some stuff that happens later in the film pretty early in this series, but I like that. It leaves a lot of the stuff that's going to be brand new, and I can't wait to get some of the brand new stuff, because that way I'm not comparing it, because whenever I do meet Neil Patrick Harris as Count Olaf, of course there's a lot of the same scenes that are taken right out of the book, so I am comparing it to what Jim Carrey did in the same scenes that were taken right out of the book. And then it kind of feels like whereas Jim Carrey's performance was really over the top and really like hyperactive and stuff, it feels like Neil Patrick Harris's performance is still hyperactive and over the top, but it just feels toned down because it's not Jim Carrey. It feels a little bit more bland. I don't know. It's an unfortunate thing, but that's just because we're going from Jim Carrey to Neil Patrick Harris. But we also meet Lemony Snicket is narrating this whole thing. Patrick Warburton, who's the voice of he's the voice of Joe on Family Guy, is what I know him from. But he's also been in a lot of other stuff. He's everywhere. But he is Lemony Snicket, the narrator of this, and he kind of has a storyline going on. He's kind of uncovering the story of the Baudelaires as he's telling it to us, and I think that's a really interesting way to go about it. The kids do a pretty good job for the most part. Whenever I first started the show, I was kind of comparing him to, but after really, they blend in actually quicker than everybody else. Quicker than Count Olaf blends in and becomes, the Neil Patrick Harris version just becomes what I focus on. These characters really become what I focus on more so. These the kids, the 3 kids, they really make them their own. They inject a little bit different personality to it. Maybe it's just because the characters in the film, the first film, were a little bit more bland, and they get to have more personality in this show. So I guess it's kind of the reverse situation with the kids, because they did go from a bland kind of characterization in the first film to having a little bit more personality, but I really do think it works the way that they interact with each other too. I think it's a really good interaction. The only thing, mostly between the 2, Violet and Klaus, the 2 older siblings, the baby, they do have a baby, and they use CGI for it, and it's kind of distraction because she bites a lot of stuff, and she bites stuff fast, and like there's one part where she like bites a rock down to like be a really easily skippable, pebble type of thing, and it's kind of unrealistic, but this whole show is kind of unrealistic, and it's kind of got a wacky feel to it. But the baby is the only. I mean, of course, they use a real baby a lot of the time for shooting, and so she's obviously staring at camera equipment and people on the set around her, and it's like, it's a baby. So I mean, what's the best acting a baby can do? But anyways, did I mention they have a baby? But anyway, what I really like about this show was the humor. The humor works really well, whether it be between Mr. Poe and the kids or coming from Count Olaf. It's really just the writing. Daniel Handler, who is spoiler alert, he's the real life Lemony Snicket. Daniel Handler wrote the books, and he comes on board to write this show. So he really has a good grasp of these characters, and the writing, and the good grasp of this world. So the writing really works. The dialogue is really spot on, and it's really funny, and it's really kind of circumstantially funny. It's not really, they're not just shooting jokes for the sake of making you laugh. It's just the way that they interact with each other and the way they perceive things and talk about things, and you'll have to see it. I do think you should watch it. I really like this show. I think if you're a fan of the movie, you kind of got to get past the comparing it in some places, because that's a lot of what I did. But once you kind of get past that, and I think and this will change. It'll be easier to do once they get into territory with the books that was not covered in the film. But once you let past the previous characterizations in the film, you can have a really fun time with these characters, because you can tell the people involved in this Netflix show really care about it. Because it's Daniel Handler who's writing it, and then the people working around him. I feel like that is kind of a contagious feel. The child actors, they're really doing a really good. The director and then the girl who plays Violet both were in 9 Lives, the Kevin Spacey terrible film. So bad it's good, but it's terrible. It was, so I was a little bit worried that was gonna carry over that kind of tone and feel and badness, but it really doesn't. I think that this is a good effort. I really look forward to seeing how things play out in the rest of the season, if they're gonna cover the rest of the books all in this first season, or if they're gonna, how many seasons they're gonna have. I do think this is the first 2 episodes, The Bad Beginning, are actually a pretty good beginning to this Netflix show. There's a little DVD quote for you. Anyways, so what did you guys think? Let me know in the comments section below what you thought of A Series of Unfortunate Events, episodes 1 and 2. Thanks for checking this video out, guys. If you like this content, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. We got a lot of other stuff. We talk about movies, TV, all sorts of cool things. We got our Monday news dump videos, Throwback Thursday reviews, podcast, editorials, you name it. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter and Instagram as well, @Samuel D. Carrico. Thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it. You have a good one.